This is the original esport racing game. This is iRacing.
Hello and welcome to the Season 6 Media Day of the Dynamic Simracersworld GT Championship live on the iRacing Esports Network. My name is Sam Fitzpatrick and alongside me to cover this evening's racing is Marco Barbner. And Marco, Season 6 of this championship, pretty remarkable. We've been covering this championship ever since the last round of Season 2. I'm sure you remember that eventful round at Spa. We've got some old faces on the grid, we've got some new faces. However, we can guarantee, not only today, but for this whole 12-round series, we're going to have some terrific racing.
Man, I am so excited, Sam. Media Day, of course, a chance for everyone to get back into the groove, to get back racing. Of course, some of these drivers have taken part in the endurance series that has been running during the winter months, and it will go on, of course, until the beginning of the summer. But let's be honest, this is the first chance for everyone to get back ready into the groove. And of course, we are going to have a race tonight, but of course a bit longer practice because we will have photo opportunities, the parade lap, and of course the interviews. So before going through the proceedings, of course, of this 50 minutes race, I'd say we start with these interviews, of course, with none other than the boss himself, the leader, the supreme leader of our championship, the one and the only Ian Roots, standing by with Sam. Hello, Ian.
Good evening, guys. How are you?
Fine.
Very good, thank you. And thanks for very good because of you putting on this season, of course, season 6. I mean, first off, how incredible is it to start season 6? You know, packed out grid, series just going from strength to strength. Second season as well on the iRacing Esports Network. Couldn't have dreamt for more.
No, that's it. It seems such a long time since the finale of last season. It's been a nice break. There's been lots going on in the meantime. Not with GT Pro Series, but with other series. Yeah, it's fantastic. Looking at the turnout for a media night, incredible, and it looks like it's going to be a good season. Some new faces, some old faces. Yeah, some new teams. So I just hope everybody enjoys it tonight, and it will be a good opener for the season. Non-point scoring, obviously, but yeah, just a showcase for what's to come.
Definitely. What was the logic in terms of choosing Okayama? Because me and Marco have been so hyped that it's Okayama. We absolutely adore this circuit. What was the logic for coming here? Because we don't usually come here in the in this series.
No, it never gets voted on in the series for whatever reason. It is traditionally a Mazda track or a Porsche track. Everybody knows that. Everybody knows it from their Mazda days. Everybody's been through the Mazdas, so everybody knows it. It's just one that's never been on the calendar in any of the seasons we've ever raced in. So that's all 5 previous seasons, and it just is something different. And it is, in my opinion, it is a good track.
Absolutely. And what changes are we going to see from season 5 going into this season 6? What rules changes?
In actual fact, to make your guys' lives easier, pretty much nothing.
Thank goodness.
I think the only thing that's really changed is we're now utilising the iRacing penalty system. So when we get in a normal season round, when we get to 25 incidents, then it will be a case of it's an automatic penalty rather than one that is a disqualification, because before, as you know, we were using disqualification because that's all we could do, which didn't look great on stream if you actually were the focus when you were disqualified. But now we're using the automatic penalty system. So, and in a 1 hour race, if I can't see anybody doubling that to 50, so we've just left it at 25 and every 25 afterwards. So it should be just enough for one penalty and one penalty only. But other than that, everything stays exactly the same.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, for me, a massive change is going to be the championship that you're taking parts in. Gone of the days of gold, you're into silver. Now, we all know that you're the best driver on the grid, but of course, now you're going to probably... I mean, you're one of the favourites for the silver championship, like, in all seriousness. I mean, how are you feeling about your chances going into this season?
I think it just, you know what this series is like. I think it comes down to consistency. I was beaten by a few silver drivers last season, even though I was in gold, and those silver drivers are now gold drivers, or one of them is Jeremy. Dries is obviously bronze champion. He's coming up. I think he's one of the favourites, you know, for silver title. Straight out of bronze, straight into silver. He's got the pace. But we've also got quite a few unknown entities this season in silver. It's a big class, silver class this time round. I think Dave Fuller is definitely a contender for title. He's chosen the right car this season. He's gone back to his favoured Mercedes, which is the right move for him. Yeah, it's going to be very, very tight. There are some good drivers in the silver class, and it will be very, very close.
Yeah, definitely. And in terms of news elsewhere in Simracersworld, just give us a rundown of the TCR series and the endurance as well.
Yeah, TCR series that kicked off last night on our own channel. Something new for us, and it was very popular with quite a few viewers as the evening went on. Only a very short media day race, but it was very popular. It's been absolutely the talk of the day today in the community and on the Facebook pages and on social media. It went very, very well, and the season looks very good. We've had quite a few grid places filled since last night, so we must be doing something right there, and Andy's done a fantastic job with that. Endurance, yeah, coming up. We're coming up to round 3, the end of this month, on the 23rd, I do believe, coming up for that. Looking forward to that as well. I want this one out of the way, to be honest, because I can't wait for the Porsche Cayman to come in as a GT4. Obviously, that's coming in at the next round, round 4. That's been guaranteed. I think it's been advertised on the homepage of iRacing today, I think, or yesterday. It's definitely coming, so it definitely will be in round 4 onwards. So yeah, going from strength to strength.
Absolutely. Is there anyone you'd like to thank or any final words before we get the the season underway?
Yeah, just everybody for their participation and for their support. People coming back, you know, I think it's 65 or 70% hit rate of those returning from season 5. So yeah, just thanks to those guys for the continued support. And across the community, there are some fantastic characters in the community, and they're doing their utmost to raise the profile of the brand and all the series that we have. It's just thanks to those guys. Without those guys that continually push us as a brand, we wouldn't exist. And yeah, thanks to those, and of course you guys. Without you guys, we wouldn't be on this esports network. And you know, it's yeah, thanks to you guys for the support as well.
Awesome. Thank you very much. It's been very good fun. I'm sure it's going to be very good fun for these next season 6. Ian, best of luck out there. I'm sure you're going to fill out all 3 places on the podium just by yourself. Best of luck, and yeah, see you next week or maybe even after the race.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, I'll hang around afterwards and see what goes on. Yeah, thank you very much, guys. Enjoy your evening.
So that was Ian Roots, so he's organizer, the man who starts this all off. Marco, you do fancy having a chat with him? We've got a couple of choices.
Absolutely. Let's have a chat with Ashley Beard. Hello, Ashley. Of course, of Year One Racing.
Hello guys, how are you?
Doing fine, and well, of course, Media Day, lots of hopes. What are yours and your team's hopes for the upcoming championship?
I think the plan for year one and for myself as a whole is just to keep on improving as the season goes on. It's like you say, our first year in the championship. We got a lovely invitation from Ian, and he was saying that we wanted the team in the championship. And for me, it's a new challenge because I've been so used to years of MX5 racing and stuff like that. So it was time for the 2020 was a different challenge and to see what we could do.
Tell us a bit about your team. Of course, we know it very well from the MX5 days, but maybe some of our viewers are not very familiar with Year One Racing.
Well, I mean, year one was set up a year ago yesterday by Graham Sessford, and the team is coming on strength to strength. I mean, every year we're building like new chapters in the team. It started out as basically like sponsors for what Graham did with the flip flops and stuff like that. And plus, it's just gone from strength to strength with the team as like basically like participation goes really. I mean, we started out as an MX5 team, and now we've started to branch out in other bits of the sim racing community, and I think hopefully, fingers crossed, that year one can start to get some results and get that exposure that it duly needs.
What about your teammates then? You're going to be racing, if I am not mistaken, with Adam Murray and James Forsyth, all 3 of you in the Mercedes AMG. What can you tell us about your teammates?
Very good drivers. I mean, I've raced with Adam Murray for years. I mean, through different platforms. And James as well. He's so smooth and consistent driving the car, and very chilled back with it. He knows exactly what he wants with the car. Same with Adam, really. I mean, we've been doing a lot of practice in this past month, 2 months, just to get to know what the car really, how it feels. So I think that bond will just grow even better as the season goes on. So fingers crossed to good things in the future.
Awesome. Well, Ashley, I see the drivers getting ready on the start-finish line for the parade lap photo opportunities. So I will leave you to that. Thank you very much, and good luck to you and your team in this race, and of course in the season proper.
Thank you very much, guys. Take care.
That was Ashley Beard, of course, for Year One Racing. I think we're going to quickly have another word with another new team, a new team head. Ollie Slade is with us in the commentary booth. Manager of Fiercely Forward Racing. Ollie, fantastic to talk to you ahead of this season 6 of this championship. And I mean, just give us a rundown of Fiercely Forward Racing. What were your team history?
Oh, thanks, guys. Good to be here. Awesome to be part of the championship too. Yeah, so Fiercely Forward, a bit about us. We've only recently formed. It was kind of a couple of guys that were part of another team. We formed into a new team. Took some more people on board as well recently, which was great. Managed to get some sponsors on here too as well, which is really, really cool. We basically just want to compete in some special events, endurance, and a series like this, really, of all kinds. You know, Simracing has been great with us. With Ian's helped us out a lot, so yeah, it's good to be part of it. Like I say, we've brought on some sponsors recently. That's Brooksy, which are also sponsoring one of these Simracersworld series as well. They're obviously making like custom gear. They've recently branched out into kind of like custom teamwear as well as the usual kind of boots and gloves and stuff. So that's really cool. And then our second's kind of Opencast Software. They've been helping us out with our digital marketing campaign. They're a software consultancy in the UK, and they're really helping us out. So it's all looking up here. Yeah.
Definitely. I'm seeing that you're driving the Mercedes. What are your teammates driving, and what was the logic for picking their cars?
Yeah, so we basically went with what we're comfortable with. Mercedes-Benz obviously is very stable car. It's obviously pretty good in the corners. You know, it's pretty predictable with the understeering. It's quite a heavy car, of course, but also means that you can have a bit of control with it as well. And I think that's the main thing here is we want to make sure that we're clean and consistent. We may not have the kind of pace as the top guys, but we want to make sure that we have a clean, consistent run. Like I said, we're focusing on kind of endurance racing. So clean and consistent is what we're looking for, and that's how we operate, really.
Absolutely. And I mean, any kind of goals, of course, you say how consistent the consistency is going to be important. We've certainly seen that in the past few seasons. But any goals in terms of places in the championship, or maybe a best results in a race of the season? Are you thinking that way?
Yeah, absolutely. So we usually have a bit of a goal going into each of our events. So for this, it's no different. So yeah, basically we want to be up with some of the top of the silver guys. Really, we don't really know where we'll place in terms of the other guys, other silver dudes, but yeah, it's definitely something we want to be at the front of. We never really want to be going into a championship and fighting at the back. That's not really what we're looking for. But having said that, as long as we're continuously improving, that's our main kind of goal, and that's something that we kind of value as a team. So yeah, it'd be good to do well, but yeah, we're mainly looking for consistency and continued improvement, really.
Absolutely. Well, we wish you the best of luck for today, and yeah, I really hope that you and your teammates have a good result out there.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me on, guys.
So that was Ollie Slade there, manager for Fiercely Forward. We're going to see much of them this year. Marco, quite unique this series in terms of this parade lap. It's always fantastic to see. Martin Van not who I mean, I was about to say, hopefully we'll have a chat with him, but he's unfortunately not had a chat with us yet. I think he's probably the favourite to win this race, so we might well have an interview with him later on as a race winner anyway. He's leading the field round. Rev Match absolutely dominating last season, and it's nice to see everyone take parts in this little procession.
Absolutely, and I really love the fact that he's picked Ford, but as you can see, we have many different logos of cars on the screen. We have the McLaren, Ben Palmer, of course, a new addition to the championship, real life driver in the Mini Challenge UK, if I am not mistaken, driving for CQR Club. Of course, we have a staple of the series, the BMW, here driven by Jeremy Essels, We have some new faces. I love that we have Stein van Buell back, driving the Simracersworld esports McLaren. Of course, the Meraki boys are back. Of course, they had to go through the pain of racing in Daytona in the same split as me in different categories. But yeah, they had to endure my terrible driving skills. I mean, I really cannot wait for this season to get underway. Nice to have, of course, Kevin Bolland back. Our big friends behind the scenes, the stewards, of course, because I think tonight we have Anton Dupin, Sebastian Eberer, and Peter Grauers behind the scenes. And now we have a massive wreck on the front stretch because the drivers are so happy to have the season started once again that they decided to, you know, have a little bit of fun before the start of the race, of the practice session, which is just about to start. And of course, Danny Cruz, which switches from Dynamics to Mivano, so an interesting change there. Don't know if he's going to keep a little bit of an alliance with the ref match guys, being that I think he's the only Mivano racing driver in the field. So as the drivers are making their way back to the start-finish line, I think that there is still no Martin van Loosenhoorn in the interview booth. So let's scroll a bit through the proceedings, because of course you can see there now it's a practice session that has effectively started in 2 minutes, and it will close, of course, in 20 minutes time. After that, the traditional 10 minutes, 2 laps closed. No, traditional not. No, because you're going to have 2 minutes, 2 laps, 10 minutes qualifying. Therefore, it's going to be closed qualifying, not open for the first. I think it's a change. I don't know if it's just for this race or for the season. A change that makes me positively happy if that's to stay for the rest of the season. And then a 50-minute race starting at 21 GMT. So times are difficult. And yes, so fuel limit will be at 50%. Tonight the incident limit is 20 for the first penalty, and then 10 incident points for every penalty thereafter. You get basically a 1 second stop and hold penalty. And yeah, I think that is that. The classes are the same. You can see on the left side of your screen gold, silver, and bronze. The traditional colors we have loved to fall. We fell in love with, you know, all these seasons ago. Like I said, we have the cars logos. We have the driver flags, which is a touch that I absolutely love. But way to get started.
Yeah, certainly a Northern Europe series this on the most part. Remember back in Season 2, the last round of that, I think about half the drivers were Belgian. And Belgium isn't the biggest country in the world, obviously. And yet there are lots of drivers from there. And also Netherlands, who are quickly rivaling Finland as the most surprisingly good nation in the world at motorsports. Finland holding that honour for many decades, but the Dutch are getting awfully good themselves, particularly in sim racing. But you can also see many British drivers as well, and seeing that I am completely biased, will be supporting them all the way. Unfortunately, not too many Italian, Marco. I'm not sure if you're going to prove me wrong, but I do not see any Italians currently, at least not in the top 20 positions. So I guess you're not going to have anyone to boo at least this year.
The series only needs one Italian, and that is me. Season 5 commentator of the season, of course.
You're rubbing in, obviously. I got best sidekick of the year, and personally I think that's an even better accolade. Some fantastic
you know what they say, no?
from that.
Every Rick needs a Morty, so
Yeah.
don't know how many will catch this, but well, hopefully the chat will now explode in in cheers for my beautiful quote. So practice officially underway. So let's get through these gaps here and see what we see. Martin van Loozenord leading the way, 3/10 over Danny Cruz. We have Ford, Mercedes, McLaren, Audi, Ferrari and BMW in the top 6. Let's see how long this will hold. This is of course early days of practice, and you can see there's a big traffic jam on the start-finish straight. Therefore, I don't know how long these times will be representative. But nice to see all this balance at the top of the field, and of course, nice to see some flame-throwing McLarens in the field.
Definitely. I must say, all this kind of half racing, half setting time, it kind of takes me back to what the 2016 F1 qualifying was supposed to be, where you have almost elimination, which would be an absolutely awesome format, which I haven't really seen too much in sim racing. Should do it at some point. But yeah, racing around. Not the race, by the way. I appreciate if anyone's just tuned in. This isn't a proper race at the moment. We've got the race in about 20 minutes' time. Hold your horses. But these guys aren't holding their horses. They're absolutely going all out at the moment and overtaking one another. The surprising amount of overtaking opportunities, actually, Marco. I of course don't remember when the F1 came round this circuit. The Pacific Grand Prix, I believe, in 95 and 96. I think I've got that right.
94 as well. 94,
94 as
95,
well,
if
yeah.
I'm not mistaken.
But those weren't the most exciting races by any means, and it was a logistical nightmare. Of course, in sim racing, we don't have the logistical nightmare of this being in the middle of a forest. And we do actually get some really good racing around here. You know, particularly in GT cars, you've got that hairpin at the end of the back straight, and you've also got turn 1. And you've got a few other hairpins as well, where you've got big braking zones. And so we should see plenty of overtaking around this place, I think, today.
Yes, you were absolutely right on the logistical nightmare part. This track in the middle of nowhere. Basically, it's a club circuit in the middle of. Well, Japan is a very mountainous country, so it's difficult to have plains and big wide spaces. Like Circuit of the Americas, for example. No? They have plenty of space to do the racetrack there. And so basically, for example, Super GT, when they come here, they have to do the paddock outside of the track due to these logistical reasons. But they always come here, of course, and why not? This is a jewel of a racetrack, in my opinion, full of different corners. There are passing spots, especially the hairpin at the end of the backstretch. A fantastic setting, and as Ian was saying at the beginning of the broadcast, it is a racetrack that everyone in iRacing has had to go through at one point or another of their career, mostly of course in rookies, given that you are basically required to race with the MX-5s, and the MX-5s more often than not the series is the rookie series is here in this particular racetrack, which has two variants: this longer variant and the shorter variant, of course. And so everyone knows this track like their hometown, like their pockets, whatever. So certainly a place where everyone is at their fullest. We'll see. I'm expecting some great racing tonight. This is the passing spot I was telling you about, of course. This big hairpin, big braking zone. Of course, going to be a bit tougher with ABS, making the braking distance a little bit different than cars that don't have it. And the double left-hander here. One of these corners is actually called Revolver. I think the first one. The second is Redmond. And then we go to the other hairpin here. A little bit less of a passing opportunity, but if you're brave enough, you can try to send your carrier on the inside. Then we have all these, I think, 3 consecutive right-handers. Here is the first. If you want to go to the pits, you have to enter here, otherwise you get a penalty. Then another right-hander, and then my favorite corner, last corner, that's his name. to bring you back to the front stretch, of course, and then in the front stretch you say hello to the pits. There is some tobacco sponsorship on that pit box, by the way. Then you turn right and you turn into first corner. Real name, by the way. So yeah.
Of course, Suzuka has first corner as well, doesn't it?
Really?
Yeah, I remember that from EA Sports F1 2002, obviously. It's a superb game, by the way. Anyone else who has played that game as extensively as I did for many a year will appreciate the superbness of it. But yeah, First Curve is the name of, guess what, the first corner at Suzuka, kind of the first, both apexes as well of it. So yeah, it goes around. Good naming from the Japanese people to name these corners at these Japanese race circuits. Currently watching Ewan Marshall, very consistent driver, Ewan Marshall, of course. I think Marco, we're not. I don't think there's too much point in going into who's going to win the gold class because I think Mark Spenley's not. We all both agree is the favourite, despite the fact that he's in a force, which is, as far as we believe, the slowest car of all of them. He should still have an advantage, but we know that the rest of the drivers are ever so competitive in sim racing and, of course, in real life as well. Dan Craze, very successful Lamborghini driver, I believe. And, of course, Ewan Marshall as well, just another one. Bod Boland and many others. PJ Clayton, we will see out there. But in terms of the silver category, I mean, just going through the names at the moment. So I got Ian Root, John McConville, Stephen DeWolf, Dries Mujdi, Stephen Van Opsel, a new driver to the series, of course, Roland Moons, Roy Verke, David Fuller, Paul Gosling, and John Chusting, two new drivers as well. John Barnes, Sam Bentham, Ryan Walker, Kim Bayet, Louis Hank, Ollie Slade, Lee Deemer, Hendrik de Grave, and Jack Ashton as well. I mean, you look at that and you can genuinely think about 10 out of those 20 drivers could win the championship and it wouldn't even be a surprise. It is so evenly matched.
Absolutely it is. By the way, first facepalm of the year for Marco Barbanera, so my my title of commentator of the season is already in jeopardy because Ian Roots provided me with the paint pack before the broadcast and I forgot to refresh. So here we go. Now we can see some of the liveries, some of the liveries have been uploaded. We can also see, of course, the glorious number panels of this series, and of course the sun strips where you can see with ease the class in which each driver is, of course, racing: gold, silver, and bronze. But yeah, here we go with the first facepalm of the season, apparently. But you were right, and I already love this CQR Club livery for Ben Palmer here with the chrome reflections. I am sure these drivers will go crazy this season with the new effects of iRacing in the paint pack. I think it's one of the most open series in the championship, in all of iRacing. Sorry, and the championship will be quite unique if Van Loosenord sticks with the Ford. Of course, we know that after a certain number of rounds, I think after the 4th and the 8th round, you can change your car, of course, with a point penalty if you do that. It's going to be interesting to see if Martin is going to keep using the Ford or not. I hope he does, even though it's one of the top, certainly the slowest of the GT3s, Sam, but also the toughest to drive because to keep it up to date with the new quote-unquote GT3 released over the years, it has because this is not a GT3 car to begin with. This is a GT2 car that iRacing has, let's say, converted, made a bootleg version, so to speak, in GT3, but it's not, and so they made some changes to, I think, especially to the geometry of the car, front and rear suspensions, etc., which made it compliant with the other cars in the terms of GT3 rules and regulations, but also made it very, very, very unstable. So it's going to take Martin van Loosenor's incredible class to keep this car in front of the field, not only with quick times, but also with in the race, because not making mistakes with this car is going to be a challenge in and of itself.
Yeah, it will be a good test, I think, this Okayama circuit as well. Pretty easy to pick up a bit of oversteer around this place with the slowness of the corners, but you need a point car, so it'll be interesting, and hopefully we see a good challenge from just as we saw at Daytona in the last media day. And talking of Daytona, I think we can talk about the calendar a little bit as well, Marco. Daytona is the first round of the season next week, the 19th of February. Then we go to Bathurst, a circuit that we are very familiar with now. Then Sebring, Watkins Glen Classic Boot, Zolder, Monza, Motegi at night. Shame that. Zandvoort, Nordschleife, Road America, Brands Hatch, and Spa to finish off the season. That'll be on May the 13th. Yeah, I mean, it's some pretty big circuits on this, Marco. Some of them are decided by the stewards. I think about half of them are decided by the stewards, and then half of them are voted on by the public. Interesting inclusion. Nordschleife only just got in last season. Despite not the cleanest round necessarily last season, it's been voted in again, and we've got a few of these kind of unique circuits. Of course, Brands Hatch as well, returning back to the championship. We've got Bathurst back after a 2-season hiatus, so I think it looks very appetizing.
It really does. I mean, it's a great calendar. Uh, Nice to have the night race in Motegi, in my opinion, because it's a very interestingly well-lit track at night, and you
It's
have
not well lit, Marco, alright? It looks awful at night, yeah? Everything looks awful at night. So it should be in the day.
I mean,
Just because it's
maybe
got lights like every other circuit in iRacing now, doesn't mean it has to be at night.
maybe with the potato machine it doesn't look very good, but I can tell you,
Yeah, well,
I will make it look good on the stream, and that is important. Not my favorite racetrack in terms of actual racetrack, but whatever. Daytona, of course, seems like we cannot escape that racetrack in any kind of racing series. Hopefully, this is the last straw. Having also, going on top of all the Daytona driving and commentating I've done on the road course in January, and I have detailed those in the past few broadcasts here on Apex and the iRacing Esports Network. I had to add on top of that the Daytona 500, which I ran on Sunday night, and that was more than 3 hours with a decent 7th place. And then, of course, a couple of days earlier, 1 hour and a bit of the Majors Daytona Duel, which I've been told I have won. So at least that gives me something back for spending all those hours, virtually, of course, in the commentary box at that particular racetrack. So nice to go back there, by the way, yeah. But then I appeal to all the series that we broadcast on Apex, please, no Daytona anymore for the past 6 months, if possible. Mount Panorama, of course, great track. Sebring, of course, Sebring is going to coincide with the Sebring 12-hour special event, so it's going to be great. Watkins Glen Classic Boot, so no chicane, the longer version, beautiful. Zolder always a tough track to overtake. Basically, Monza is the complete opposite. Yes, chicanes, but with longer straights. We talked about Motegi. Zandvoort is going to be unique, but the home track to many of the drivers of the series. Nordschleife we talked about. Road America, great track. Brands Hatch making its comeback, like you were saying, and I'm very happy that we are going to end the season in reverse Abu Dhabi in Spa-Francorchamps. So back as per usual there, but reverse Abu Dhabi because it's going to be night into day, not like they do in F1. Great calendar, all in all. It has everything. I am still hoping one day to have Oran Park included in the schedule, but that will have to wait.
I mean, we all want that. We of course we have some involvement in some Apex Racing League events as well. We really do love Owen Park. We wish it was in there a little bit more. But Yeah, that is a superb circuit. Gonna be weird going to Zandvoort, I must say, later on in the year, because of course massive changes happening to that circuit currently. 33 degrees of banking at turn 3. Currently there's relatively little, maybe about 5 degrees, something like that, and of course the final corner as well. So not necessarily improved for the GT cars, though, I would say. I mean, it is an absolutely roller coaster of a ride. People say that Road Atlanta's a roller coaster, it absolutely is, but uh, I mean, I think Zambot probably takes the honors there. It is superb driving through the sand dunes, undoubtedly. 4 minutes to go. No sand dunes around here, but there's a decent amount of gravel, as you can see for Jeremy Hessel's just up the road. Doesn't go into that, thankfully. Hits the apex very nicely. 4 minutes to go in practice. And then, of course, we'll have the 10-minute qualifying session and a 50-minute race. Still no Mark Van Leesnod to have a chat with us. I really want to ask him how relaxed he's feeling going into this season, whether or not he's feeling the pressure. Two-time champion, of course, Marco, and I guess with the way he's dominated these past 2 seasons, it's difficult to go any further. Last season, he missed 1 round. Apart from that, he won every other round, apart from Silverstone at the season finale when he started from last. Apart from that, he was the best driver out there for every single round. I mean, it's difficult to find the motivation, but I think this Ford car is probably, if anything, going to make him even stronger because it's something that he's going to work for. It's going to keep him enthusiastic, and it might be a bit more fun for him, I think, just having this extra challenge.
Well, first of all, I think after back-to-back titles, he's showing finally the effects of the prima donna kind of driver, because he was scheduled for an interview with us, and he hasn't bothered to show. So, in the inevitable post-race interview, when he gets at least on the podium, if not better, we will have to, tell him this. But all jokes aside, you are making a very nice point here, Sam. I think that driving the Ford, being the only Ford driver in the field, and of course, more importantly in the team, he will have no reference point but himself, and this means he will have to work on the setup, try to work out like I said, this car very. Let's go on board, because nothing beats the sound of a Ford engine. I am sorry, I'm a company man, but this is absolutely fantastic. So he will have to grow accustomed to the car, and hopefully for him get in tune with, get in sync with it, and try to minimize the troubles of this quite unique monster of a car. Monster in the sense of, assembled monster. But yeah, unique. He's a driver that likes to challenge himself, Martin Vaduzna. That is the hallmark of all the great champions. Now, will he be champion at the end of the season? We shall see. Of course, it's a long way to go, many months in the future, but certainly already putting himself for a very, very big challenge.
Yeah, it's going to be tricky to defend those 2 championships, but I think he is going to be the favourite. We've already talked about then the gold, and we talked about the silver earlier on as well. In terms of bronze drivers, not quite as many bronze drivers as there are silver, I think. But here is the rundown. Stuart Musselwhite, Ben Llewellyn. I've so got that name nailed down. It took me half a season to pronounce Llewellyn, but apologies to everyone from Wales for that few races. Then it's James Hobden, Simon van Dijk, Justin Nager, Kevin De Winter, Thijs Vandenberg, Jochen Lennarts, Kevin Boland, Rob Thiessen, Pim Bow, Lee Woodburn, and Craig Jones rounding out the order. Something that I'm noticing: lots of different colours on the the car choice. So that means that we've got AMGs, we've got BMWs, Audis, and McLarens, and a Ferrari as well. So that'll be good to see all those different cars. But anyone there, Marco, who kind of points out to you who you think maybe is going to win that championship for this season?
Well, we were just watching him right now because, of course, after Media Day, the classes might be rebalanced as qualifying is just about to start. But sitting in 5th place was a new face in the championship, and I hope I'm not butchering his name. Jarno, of course. I mean, how can I be Italian and not love a guy named Jarno, of course, but I think his last name is pronounced Do, and he is a bronze driver for No Nonsense Racing, and he was sitting in 5th position in the free practice session, so very high up the field. We have seen 2 seasons ago a bronze champion run away with it. Last season it was much more balanced. I have to say, not mostly, but also because of Dries Mujdi challenging math situation, to which he resolved brilliantly, thanks to great driving in the second half of the season and starting to make proper calculations with the fuel. So yeah, could be. Of course, it's very early. He might be bumped up to silver after media day, but it's a good shout for me as a possible contender for the bronze title.
Yeah, a few drivers not being assigned to a class here. I think Celeb Lavender, yeah, American driver. Not too many American drivers out here, but he's currently unassigned, and also Jarno Dordan, he's unassigned as well, but in a Ferrari. Currently in the bronze class. However, you do expect probably to be promoted. Awesome that we got 3 different classes as well. Often in these series, you got Pro and you got Am, and maybe for a series where you got lots of different crashes, that does work. Of course, Marco's already talked about his biggest achievement in iRacing. Of course, the Jules win at Daytona. Of course, my biggest achievement was winning the BSR Winter Series as an AM driver as well. I won the overall standing. And in that, of course, all you needed to do was finish the race, and you got a lot of points. Here, it is a lot more tricky, less attrition rate, and so it's tricky to kind of fluke a result as such. It's usually you're going to finish in the same place around the season. So to have these 3 different classes really means that everyone's always got something to fight for. I think if we only had 2, then a lot of drivers would be hung out to dry instead. Everyone, I think, will be at least looking for a top 3 in their respective class. It looks a bit weird, Marco. After seeing everyone brawl round for half an hour around this Okayama circuit, because this is solo qualifying, everyone's a bit lonely now. They must be thinking, well, what's the driver punching me going into this corner? He's not even here anymore. That's what John McConville is thinking, I imagine. The 223 car is waiting to be dived on him to every single one of these corners, and yet it's just not happening. We'll see if he can improve on his time. I think this is going to be his first time, sorry, because we're only 3 minutes into the session. He crosses the line, and well, that's a bit of an anticlimax. It was not validated, so he will go again. He's got plenty of time. Well, I say he's got plenty of time. He's got 1 more lap.
Yes, absolutely. I will get back to you in a second because I'm actually helping the stewards behind the scenes. And yeah, just a second. So Sam, you can take it away.
Absolutely. This is, my opportunity to perhaps become commentator of the season. No more sidekick of the season. This is my time to shine, I imagine. So John McConville, of course, going through this second part of the lap. Ever such slow corners in this second part of the circuit. Because we've got this hairpin, and then these 2 left-handed 90-degree corners. Almost every single corner here is a hairpin or a 90-degree corner, very similar to Montreal, perhaps, where it is almost very similar corners, kind of copied and pasted around the entirety of the circuit. And McConville trying to improve at the moment. At the moment, in terms of top, we've got Martin van Liesnold, the fastest driver, only 2/100ths of a second faster than Ewan Marshall. Stephen Opsal in 3rd place, Bod Boland in 4th, and Jarno Dor in 5th. Currently, the top 5 drivers separated by 3/10 of a second. I say that the top 9 drivers are separated by only 3.5 tenths of a second. John McConville, though, he's not joining them. He's in 33rd place, a 28.1 on that lap. Only 1.9 seconds off the pace, around a decently long lap, about 90 seconds around this place. And yet, the field is ever so close. He sits quite near to the bottom of the table. About 5 drivers currently on a 27.0. Never really seen the field quite as close as this, as the drivers are trying to put in their second lap times. and absolutely get the most out of this car. Of course, running the old tyre model is this car, so expect the drivers to go mega quick on their first lap. Tricky to back it up with their second lap, however. Danny Crow's also trying to improve. He's currently in 5th position, and he's only got to improve. I say that. Mats Van Loosenhold's just put in an absolute storm, so too Jarno Dor. Van Loosenhold now 0.2 of a second clear. Just as I was saying, it's difficult to back up your first lap with your second. He absolutely goes about 1/4 of a second faster. First man into the 1 minute 25s. Denny Cruz, though, what can he do? Former race winner, I believe, in this race, many times on the podium. Of course, a new team for him, Mivano, he's driving for this season. Currently in 6th place with a 26.378. It's not an improvement, though, and I think that action there sums it up. Not best pleased, and he'll get a new front of the car, he'll get a new whole car in fact. We'll see if that improves for the race. He remains in 6th position, not improving on that second attempt. Also got Lewis Ward just moving up into 5th position, and that's a very good lap time from Ward. So Crow's back down into 7th. PJ Clayton's, of course, good to see him out there. He's up in 3rd place. Very competitive, I think, at the media day last season as well. But yeah, currently not on the front row of the grid, can still do a lot of damage from that position. Of course, rolling starts for this race, proper GT racing, no standing starts. We'll have a full formation lap, I believe, or at least half a formation lap, and then we'll be able to get underway. You can see most drivers just on their in laps at the moment, getting a little bit of screen time as they absolutely deserve. Ollie Slade on his debut, playing up in 15th place. Not a bad job from him whatsoever.
I'm almost done, huh? So
Awesome. Of course, hopefully, one of the elements, and that's what we're trying to address at the moment, is, of course, as the races go by, you'll be able to see the stewards' decisions on the bottom of your screen, which is a fantastic element. Thanks to SDK Gaming, of course. Haven't even mentioned the live timing. If you want to check out live timing for this race, where you can see the intervals between drivers, their best lap times, their last lap time, their pit stop time, the lap that they pitted, their position, obviously that is quite helpful as well. Their number as well. Everything that you could ever want. There is a link in the description of this video, and you can click on that and you can see the live timing. Of course, if you're watching this back, guess what? It will not work, unfortunately. But we certainly do recommend you check that one out for every one of the rounds this season. Ollie Slade continue to go out here. He knows that the cameras are on him, and he's thinking, I'm going to absolutely lap this all up, as Marco Crawley moves away to Ben Palmer instead, who I believe actually might be putting in his first lap time. He does, and that is some first lap time. Goes up into 5th position, does the 44 car in the McLaren. Great to see the McLarens so well populated in this series. As, I think about 6 or 7 of them. He's put that up in 5th place. Mega efforts here in this qualifying session. Might even have another lap to go. That was his first lap, so watch out for Ben Palmer here. He's really got an opportunity, maybe even threatening for the front row of the grid. Of course, got to make sure these drivers not to pick up any 1Xs. That will invalidate their lap time straight away. But Palmer keeping it quite neat and tidy at the moment, staying right to the inside of the hairpin, not using too much of the space on the outside, and taking a bit of curb on the inside of the first left-hander. And now just got a couple more hairpins to go. Really tricky corners these. Got to slow the car right down, get the car rotated, cannot rush it whatsoever. All about being neat and tidy. And that is seemingly what Ben Palmer is doing. Like I said before, 26.2, his first lap time. If he can improve by just 1/10 of a second, he could really watch out for the front row of the grid. Let's see what the McLaren driver can do. Crosses the line, and his second lap time is a 26.096. I said he only needs to improve by a couple of tenths of a second. He's gone up to the front row of the grid. It's only 1/10 of a second slower than Martin van Loosenholt. Some effort there from Ben Palmer, is right at the close as well, as the timer runs out, and we will be able to go through your starting grid. And it is Martin van Liesnold on pole position. Who else would it be? The two-time defending champion starting off this media day very successfully. However, he was only 1/10 of a second clear of Ben Palmer. Superb end to the session for him. Jarno Dor lines up in third place, new driver. Let's see how he can do in his first ever race in the series. PJ Clayton's lines up alongside him on the second row of the grid. Then it's Ewan Marshall and Lewis Ward, two veterans of the series, of course. Stephen Opsal, Danny Crows, Dion Phillips, and Bod Boland round out the top 10. Then it's Jeremy Hessels, Neil Cooper, James Fordyke, Joe Tusting, new driver to the series, and Ash Sutton as well, and Ollie Slade. The top three in the silver category, they line up in 14th, 15th, and 16th. Then it's Stein Van Buell, Dan McCauley, Adam Murray, Paul Gosling, Ian Roots, of course, series organizer, Chris Moretza, Ashley Beard, Dries Mooshley, Matthias Temp, John Barnes, Kim Byhet, Stephen DeWolf, Stu Musselwhite, Simon Van Dyke, Ryan Walker, Tom Methel started down in 32nd place, watch out for him, Hendrik de Grave, Craig Jones, Lee Woodburn, Kevin De Winter, Lee Deemer, and John McConville, Stephen Castrop, Thiesberg, and Celeb Lavender rounding out the field. Hopefully, we'll also see Kevin Bonan and Jochen Lennartz take the start. However, they didn't set qualifying times, and don't expect the race stewards to get out there either. They will most likely stay in their rightful position, making sure that everyone stays in line for this race, as we are about to get this third of a pace lap underway before getting this media day for Season 6 of the Dynamic Simracersworld GT Series underway. As the pace car now pulls away, the Porsche or the Rough? I think that is the Porsche.
The Porsche, yeah.
Should be the Mustang. Bit disappointed with that, Marco. Really ought to be rule number 1 in the regulations. Quick word from you though. I mean, Martin Van Liesnold only a 10th clear. Ben Palmer and Jarno Dor, two relatively unknown prospects. What can we expect to see from them in this race?
That's a very, very good question. I can see Van Liesnold holding the lead, but these new challengers, we have seen in last year's media day how tough it was for him to bring home the victory. So let's see what happens.
Here we are then. Media day of Season 6 is underway. Martin Van Liesnold pulling away from the rest of the field. It is a very successful start for him straight away. Ben Palmer in second place. We could see 3 wide going into turn 1. Just about managed to fan out in the end. And in the end, there's actually no changes amongst the top 5. Good start for Crows, already gaining a couple of places. Clayson trying to get past Dor currently. That's for the battle for third place. And the 37 has managed to make that one stick. So Crows up 2 places. Ward down 1. Pulse up for Van Opstal, dropping from 7th down into 10th. And a few changes elsewhere as well. Good start for Jack Ashton as well, and James Fordyke in the front of the silver category, as they're already onto the back straight. Are we going to see any overtakes into the hairpin, I wonder? John Barnes having a little bit of a struggling getaway, very slow coming out of that corner.
Yes. Apart from that, a regular start to say the least, as we jump on board with Lewis Ward, and you can see how big of a traffic jam we are having on board with the driver, the number 33.
It's a really good opportunity just to go for an overtake in this situation, because you have such a concertina on the brakes. You can't think if Ward had gone to the inside, they would have probably been able to make that move, but kind of quite gentlemanly at the moment. They're staying in single file as the first lap is in the books, and it's Van Liesnold leading. Palmer, spin in the background. That is Ollie Slade. And he's really in an awkward position here. Going to have to turn off the traction control. Oh dear, and he makes contact almost. I think the Audi managed to avoid him. Did have to go off the circuit, however.
It was Caleb Lavender who started from the pits, same as OS Methrol is having some issues just in front. Going for a ride in the grass. So here we go, Martin van Loosenord, your leader. You can see the selected car that we have picked on the left side of the screen with the green stripe next to his name and number. Trying to pull away already. Then we have this. Oh, around goes PJ Claessens. Good save. He avoids disaster, but this is the problem with the McLaren, Sam. Is that he's very, 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 very likely to try and kill you every time she can. And that flamethrower, of course.
and round his door.
Though, yeah, number
He was-
320.
He was fighting with Crows for third place, sorry, and I think lost out to Crows, who didn't have the ideal line, and he's trying to Austin Powers it. Sorry for the cliche, but that is the absolute best description of what he's doing, and trying to get back into this race. The whole field has got past him. Shame for Jarno Dor, because it was looking as though he could maybe get a podium.
Big fight here in the back end of the top 10, as you can see, going side by side. The very recognizable new livery of Meraki Racing with the bright yellow and the blue, and of course another very, very recognizable livery in this year one car of James Fordyke. As Stijn van Buel has towed back to the pits in his return to the series, and he had already gone off the track here, so must have had some issues heading into turn 1, and here we go.
Oh, he's just dipped a wheel onto the grass.
And then someone must have hit him hard. Yes,
Maybe
unfortunately.
Neil Cooper, perhaps? One of the
No,
Fury guys. Oh,
it
what?
was
I guess that.
Matthias Temmi.
Oh, okay. Had to ruin my moment, didn't you? This is that sidekick of the season worthy stuff, I must say. That bad call. You can see how the front drivers have vastly pulled away. That's partly down to Martin van Loosen. He's just set the first lap of the race, 26.3. In fact, slower than his second lap, which is a 26.2. But he's still 1.8 seconds ahead of Ben Palmer. Denny Crow's already up 5 places, up into 3rd place and in 4th, despite that half spin earlier on. Lewis Ward dropping a couple of places, and that's actually been quite recent as well. Ward has dropped a couple of places, so he's down into 8th, trying to get past Jeremy Hessels. He's having a very nice run up, 4 places for him. And Ward taking an alternative line. I don't think it's going to work too well. Well, he's taking an alternative line because he had a car on his inside, and that was probably the wise thing to do. Jack Ashton moves up into 8th place. He's up 7 places already. Is the 200 car.
Oh, I think Lidimer and Ryan Walker had a running
Oh,
with
and
each other.
Ashton's got a move there. How on earth? I don't think that was a deliberate move, but it turned out to be an absolute stunner. And Jack Ashton gains another place. However, he's off the circuit now. And oh well, after a bit of good luck there, he's very much been unlucky in that situation. And he's dropped back outside the top 10. Here we go, moving right to the inside of the circuit. Was the BMW just to defend. Lewis Ward going round the outside. He's going to be
Three
squeezed
wide.
right to the inside. The McLaren as well, trying to get involved just behind. That's Opstal, of course. And I think after all of that, it will be Ward just about heading out this train of cars.
That was absolutely crazy. Let's see for a second what happened to Dimmer and Walker. I think they had a coming together. And indeed they had, and they are both back in the pits for repairs. Back live.
Oh, Ward's still under pressure then. These guys from 7th down to 14th, separated by 2 seconds. And you can see that for yourself. You can count this if you would. It would be difficult to do. Ward having to, apologies, go behind Lewis. Well, Jeremy has time to go defensive into that one. Van Opstal trying to gain a place. Ashton now in 10th place, so he didn't lose out too bad. But from that bit of an off he had. No, he moves into the hairpin this time. They've got a bit of a gap right now between Cooper and Murray. However, I'm just looking at Murray closing that gap. And now we've got pretty much everyone from 7th down to 21st. all in a queue. A few larger gaps than others, but no one separated by more than a second out of those guys. Hazard Murray has had an off, in fact. He's off the circuit, and he's got back on, so he's dropped to 21st place. He was running in 15th. Stephen Castrop potentially getting involved in that one. He has just apologised to a driver, however, I don't believe Castrop was in that proximity of the circuit. So after 5 laps of this race, still Van Loosenord leading. Palmer in second place, Crows in third. It's Claysons and Phillips also pretty close as well. And then it's Marshall a bit by himself. And then 3.5 seconds back to Lewis Ward, car number 33. And he's really under massive pressure right now. I feel like it's only a matter of time until Jeremy Hessels manages to overtake him here. Superb to see the different manufacturers of cars all slaloming their way through this Okayama circuit. Neil Cooper dropping down a place here to James Forsyth. I think that was, yeah, Forsyth doing very well at the moment in the silver category, I believe, running in 3rd place there. So starting to separate a little bit out those guys. Chris Muretza leading quite a long train of cars. He's in 15th place, 1.5 seconds detached from the next queue of cars as such. So you might see an overtake here for Neil Cooper. Pipping down the inside, almost loses the car, but settles it down in the end. And Cooper might be able to pull away now from this position, try to catch up to Dan Macaulay just up the road. Batting behind them at the moment. Yeah, Chris Metta still holding off Ashley Beard, John Tusting and Paul Gosling, other drivers involved in that battle. Of course, this is the media day for Season 6 of the Dynamic Simracersworld GT Championship. 12 rounds of the season coming up over the next 15 weeks or so, every Wednesday evening. Of course, you can very much tune in on the iRacing Esports Network. We will always be here. Hopefully, me and Marco will be taking you through the action throughout the season. And it should be a very tight championship, no doubt about that one. Lee Woodburn having to take back to the pits just a moment ago, seemingly an issue for the silver driver. Was running quite far down the order anyway.
Sorry if I'm a bit quiet, still trying to figure out the race control side of things, because I really appreciate the work of our stewards, and I think I have figured it out. Let's see if we get a message across. I think it works. Perfect.
Awesome. So we'll now be able to see all the stewards' decisions. I don't believe there's been any penalties dished out, not that I've seen. Yeah, car 250, unsafe rejoin has been reviewed. However, there'll be no penalty for the 250 car. So that is very good news for them. That was Ollie Slade, of course.
So the situation there, we have Martin van Loosenor leading the way in front of Ben Palmer, CQR Club, and Danny Cruz of Mivano Racing. Then PJ Claysons rounds up your top 4, sorry, and Dion Phillips for Venom Works running out the top 5. Yes, that is quite correct. We see a battle here. Of course, this battle has been going on since the beginning of the race. Basically from 7th position and downwards. So let's also see the various leaders in classes, of course. The leader in silver right now is the guy in position number 9, Steven van Hopstal, of course, whilst the leader in bronze is Stuart Musselwhite. So, very important to know, by the way, that you can spot the drivers' classes in multiple ways. As you see, the live steward finally getting access to the live timing component. Of course, like I said, on the left side of your screen you have the color of the car, the car position that gives you away the class. Also on their windshield banner, as you can see right now, Jeremy Essels with a nice gold banner of his car, the gold number on the left side of your screen. But if you are really desperate, there's also the car number, which I think, apart from a couple of rogue drivers, has got the following rules with, well, yeah, with a double-digit number, or single-digit in the case of the champion, being the gold class. A number with a 2 in front is the silver, and the 3 in front, the bronze. This is a system that Sam loves, and Sam absolutely hates when this system is not used at its full intent by some rogue drivers.
Absolutely. Any drivers who perhaps don't have that, it's probably their driver's fault. Maybe joined the stage a little bit late. Anyway, PJ Clayson, contact between the two of them. There's a slight dink in the road there, and Clayson does well to get the car stopped. That banking into the hairpin certainly helping the car to slow down on that occasion, and Clayson's had to stay behind, but that was almost a disastrous situation there when trying to get past Danny Craze, and now Dion Phillips is getting well involved. Mercedes versus McLaren versus Audi. And then we got the Ferrari as well, and he's just behind of Ewan Marshall as well.
I have to tell you that I just got a message from the stewards, and they said that I am the best. So, yeah, I think you will have to settle
Give
for
it a break, Marco, yeah?
for the sidekick of the season once again.
Unbelievable.
Oh, this time
spinning.
they touch. Oh, and Kroos all the way down to 6th. You have view from the chopper. There we go in turn number 1. The slightest of contacts, but of course in the middle of the corner. That's all it takes most of the times.
Neil Cooper is dropping.
Yeah.
And has he got damage? He is crabbing.
He is crabbing.
Like a shell fish. Right there. And we'll have to get back to the pits. These drivers do get a faster pair. Don't believe they're going to get a faster pair for the proper season. I don't think that's a rule that they've had in the past. So they'll spin in front of Cooper then. That was Macaulay,
yes,
believe, yeah.
One of the CQR cars, absolutely right. So, situation we have seen a couple of times already tonight, with drivers having some issues in that particular corner, spinning, and then basically you have no time to react, unfortunately. And look how close most of... Let's bring up the track map, why not, and see how close the midfield is. Like, also the battle from 7th down to 10th is close, but then everyone else behind. Also we have a nice train of cars as Cooper makes his way back to the pits. We have a nice train of cars here. This includes, of course, Kevin De Winter, 2nd place in bronze, and of course the class leader is just ahead, as you can see here, Stuart Musselwhite for the Simracersworld Esports AM team. These drivers will have to stop, if I'm not mistaken, given that it's limited to 50% the fuel tank, so we are expecting a stop. In season races, of course, will be 1 hour, apart from the season finale, so this is a bit shorter, so therefore I'm expecting a little bit little bit bigger fuel tanks on these cars.
Yeah, a bit more variance potentially from the drivers. I believe 60% normally in the season, but you're absolutely right, 50% today for the drivers to cope with. So anyone who's driven GT3 cars knows that they go just over an hour, and around this place I assume it's going to be a little bit more, just because of the fact that it is quite a slow circuit. There's plenty of slow speed corners. I say that slow speed corners, if you've got a slow corner, you have to accelerate quite a bit as well. So not quite sure how that will be, but probably about 30 minutes these drivers will be able to go, maybe a little bit further than that. So probably 10 minutes or so. They'll be able to vary their strategies by. Bod Boland's struggling down the straight there. It's not a particularly long pit straight here at Okayama. And now he's gone wide as well at turn 1. Could be a big problem against James Forsythe. He tries to get the cutback now on his rival. Year 1 driver. First race in the series. He switches to the inside. Very wide entry into this corner. However, not quite the confidence. Bod Boland, of course, veteran of the series. Don't believe he's ever won the title, but he's finished in the top 3 in the championship many times. And now he's side by side with his rival. This time he might just have to back out of it, I think, Boland. Because he's got the outside line, or tries to swoop all the way. So it's not quite there on the exit. They have lost each other a bit of time, meaning that Boland's teammate behind, Chris Muretta, could well get involved. Only 1 second separating the drivers in 12th and 13th places now.
Of course, one driver that's missing tonight, we hope to have him for the start of the season proper in Daytona, is Steve Claes. And I have to express my deepest sympathies to him, because I don't know if you have followed the qualifying gate in the Porsche Cup Series, Sam.
Oh yeah, of course, yeah.
And that situation was bad to begin with, because of I think bad communication in the rules, and bad communication all around. But I knew that the steps, the limits were overstepped when I got news that Steve had been suspended for 1 week for that. Steve, of course, one of the nicest, cleanest, more gentleman drivers you can find in iRacing. That's when I got 100% the idea that there was something wrong with the way the situation was handled. So I think all the bans were rescinded. I think he would have still able to race in this in this event, because this is a hosted league session. But whatever the case, he will be back, I'm sure, 100% next week. Is he in the entry list? So we are waiting for him with open arms. I'm surprised we still haven't got taken down by iRacing.
Absolutely. I mean, we are quite critical to them. I mean, let's balance it out. Of course, GT Forecast coming to iRacing quite soon. The Porsche Cayman, obviously, the first car to come, and that'll be in just a month's time. Well done, iRacing. So that's evened it out now. Well, that's a few rally points. We can be really critical. I mean, the amount of faults with iRacing, honestly, we could go on all day about them. So that's stored up a bit.
Now, I might be, I don't want to contradict our Supreme Overlord, of course, Ian Roots, but he said that the car was going to be here for the next round, and he said it was going to be round 4, but unless I'm very much mistaken, we had 2 rounds of the Endurance Series, Barcelona and Daytona.
Yeah, well, I think he meant that it wasn't going to be in for next round. I think he meant round 4 will be for the series.
Ooh, he told it was going to be the next one.
Yeah, we had a whole discussion on the Apex Racing TV Weekly Roundup podcast, which you can find on Apex Racing TV Facebook page and YouTube channel, of course. But we had a whole discussion about that, and we were really hyped, but that's for round 4 instead. Of course, do check out the Endurance Series on a Sunday afternoon on Apex Racing TV.
Like a very long Sunday afternoon, eh? You can
very
settle
long,
in,
yeah.
brew some tea, like several liters off, get your biscuits, and of course enjoy the race. And of course, I think if you want to maybe have a chat with us on the podcast, let us know, and we'll sort out a date. And we'd love to have a guest, one of our drivers, to talk about your series. I think Sam would be nice to have someone jump into the room with us and have a nice chat.
Absolutely. It'd be great to hear something other than an Italian accent for once. And I'm sure you'd appreciate my monotone drones were muted for a moment. Cheese Mujdi. You almost managed to make a move right there on Ashley Beard. This is the battle for 13th place. Being promoted quite a few places have these guys that have been working through the order very successfully. Started outside the top 20, I believe, did Mujdi. Ever so impressive last season in the Bronze Championship. Won it kind of comfortably in the end after a sketchy first few rounds. We already talked about it before the race started, his fuel issues. But he seems to have addressed them now. And is running very well in this event as well. Certainly one of the favourites for the silver category this season. We just cannot get past Ashley Beard. He's got Chris Muretta only just ahead as well. He's lapping quite a bit faster than at the moment. Just not the straights long enough at the moment into these corners to properly be able to get past.
Martin van Loosenhoorn still in the lead. Will we have our first ever victory for Ford in the championship? Of course, Media Day non-points paying round, but since I'm a fan of the Blue Oval, I'm going to take this regardless. And as you know, as Sam knows, if you switch to Ford in any championship, you are automatically quicker, no matter NASCAR, V8 supercars, even here, even in GT. And again, Danny Cruz now fighting with PJ Claessen's dive bomb at the hairpin, which is called, surprisingly, hairpin, and makes the pass, then heading into revolver. So nice combination of moves there. Actually a track which has many English names for corners.
Oh,
He comes back
down the inside Crows, and that was almost contact there. Just shows how big a braking zone that is, where you can just absolutely go all in, and now makes contact with the back of the McLaren as well. That was a tricky situation. It's allowed the McLaren to get away, if anything. It was a nice shove from the front of the Mercedes. And yeah, Crows perhaps just becoming a little bit aggressive there, but in front of him it was Claessen's stopping on the apex and accelerating out of the corner.
Jump on board with the beautiful sounding Mercedes. As you can see, the flames coming out of the rear end of that equally beautiful McLaren MP4 12C, which
It's a very weird damage just forming on his bonnet. I don't know if anyone saw that on the stream going through turn 2, but just some random damage just appearing on that car. But it's not slowing him down, certainly. He's again side by side with PJ Claesson. Round the outside this time goes Crows. Oh, he's almost got part of his car alongside, not quite into a Revolver.
Great driving, great battle between these two guys, and this is absolutely fantastic. Of course, two drivers, especially Claessen's a veteran of the series, but of course Kroos hasn't been as present as he wanted because of his real life racing commitments, but still, when he's here, he's always there or thereabouts. Why they jump in with Jeremy Essels is beyond me. Misclick, of course, as Jeremy is having to look back because Lewis Ward is coming. But still, this fight continues, as you can hear the glorious sound. Oh, they have a lapped car in front of them. It's number 2, 3, 4. It's Barnes.
Put Clayton's offline a bit, however, can take full advantage of it, could Danny Crows. Here comes Chris Muretta. We've had a few drivers into the pits. Bod Bowden was one of the first drivers into the pits. In fact, these guys almost get into the half an hour mark already. We're still a while away, so they should be able to continue for another 5 minutes or so if they so wish to. Most drivers will probably drain the tank, but of course, if you want a bit of clear air, might be worth pitching in a bit earlier. Almost attempt at a move there for Curry. Certainly was within range, however he feels there's going to be better opportunities. This is what we said at the start of the show. How it is possible to overtake around this place. There are plenty of slow corners from decently fast straights. Where you can go for a bit of an aggressive move. Crow's just not quite close enough, he feels, to make a safe move. Looks to the inside for the second hairpin. And right now, Clayson isn't helping himself too much. Going offline a few times. Crow's struggling to get the car out of the third to final corner, though. Paul Gosling and Ian Roots are currently battling for 13th place. Now that a few drivers are coming to the pits, Roots gaining some places, started outside the top 20, and, well, gotta be biased towards this guy, of course. And if you can keep this up, another 11th place might not be too far away from him. But he does really need to get past the 236 car very quickly.
Yeah, sitting now in P5 of his class, looking to P4 as they head to the front stretch once again and into the first corner. The little bit of dirt on the left side, usually it's the braking marker for the drivers, the braking marker that they teach you when you start that you get taught by the experts when you start driving around here with the MX-5s or the Skippies. Then I love this corner. It's so beautiful and it sets you nicely for this stretch here, this back stretch. Let's jump on board with the Roots and let's bring you the dashboard.
Seems like everyone's breaking out about 100 meters going into the hairpin. But of course, you can see how the banking so much into the hairpin that even if it's kind of impossible to go too deep. You can probably break out about 50 meters and probably stay on the track just because it's so banked that uphill really slows the car down. And that is why it's such a superb overtaking opportunity. Roots tries to get underneath his rival, usually the most aggressive driver. Now he really gets underneath him because he's going to go into the pits. The unique pit entry we have here, Okayama, has caught out many a driver in the past. Doesn't catch out Roots though, he'll be thankful for that one.
Now we have here Jack Ashton, Team Fordzilla, but driving a Mercedes, so certainly not going to be my favorite driver for this unbelievable crime he is committing, our friend Jack.
It is a bit limiting, that name, isn't it?
I mean, you can race in every category with Ford.
Oh, really? Okay. You know that famous Ford Formula 3 car, which the drivers can hop into?
Well, you know, the Formula 3 is unbranded on iRacing. It's just a Dallara, so you can just put your Ford stickers on there and forget about it.
Ah, fair enough. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if you're the one funding this Fordzilla team. Of course, part of the Aussie Mixed and Fixed series, I believe, as Ashton moves past the back marker.
Yeah, I was having a chat with Brad Clank earlier, a colleague. He's doing another event on Apex Racing TV today, and I said, yeah, Fordzilla, I know those guys from the Aussie Mixed and Fixed. So, yeah, but, you know, yellow card for them because they should be driving the mighty Ford. Look at that. Clearly the fastest car on track. This has nothing to do with the driver.
Yeah, Van Liesnard dominating still on that last lap. He was 0.6 of a second faster than Ben Palmer. Clayton still under pressure from Cruz. Cruz, apologies. I will eventually get that one right this season. Danny Cruz. In terms of drivers who have pitted then, Ashley Beard currently the top of the drivers who have pitted. And then it's Chris Moretta. Then it's Neil Cooper. Dan McCauley is 4th out of the drivers who have pitted, and Bod Boland is 5th. So, also, I think Neil Cooper probably going to have to pit again. He pitted on lap 11, however, only put 4.5 it was only stationary for 4.5 seconds, which probably isn't enough to get him to the end of the race. So will be unlucky for the 75 car. Still trying to gain places at the moment. Ben Palmer with an issue.
So Danny Cross is released. Ivan Marshall and PJ Claessens are in for their stop. I agree with, say, a big load, of course, to Bobby Childs, former MX5 legend, now, of course, looking for more powerful cars in his future. And, you know, this McLaren is a bit old, you know, MP4 12C. It's got some years, you know, over her shoulders, but still a pretty looking car, in my opinion. And those flames, I mean, look at that. I mean, come on, it's fantastic. The only problem, of course, is that, again, as I said many times, it is always actively trying to kill you. But at Monza, it's going to be the car to beat, in my opinion. Maybe even in Daytona.
Oh, contact and Force Dyke, who's had an almost perfect race so far. He's spun round, make sure he doesn't reverse into his own teammate, and I think scrapes the wall a second time there. So he gets back running, but that is far from what he needed. Of course, it wasn't new tyres, it was the same tyres, it was just that small bit of contact and spinning. Martin Van Loosenholt into the pits. Also Ben Palmer, Dion Phillips. Seems as though everyone who hasn't pitted so far
Oh,
is
did he hit the
coming
wall?
at the moment.
Did he hit the wall there, Martin?
He's got a fast repair. Oh wow, he did.
Maybe it was, he was
A
drinking.
Ford Magnet there.
Maybe he was drinking some coffee. I don't know.
He's still in the lead. Ben Palmer, will he still be in second place? He should be. And he is. 1/100th of a second faster than Van Loosenholt on pit road. He's going to need a bit more than that if he's going to close the gap. It's still about 12 seconds. Paul Gosling is... Oh, Dries Mujdi and Paul Gosling staying out then. Ewan Marshall is third out of the drivers who have pitted. And Clayson's and Crows, then Hessel's. Pretty much everyone having their pit stop times in the 12 seconds. Jack Ashton, though, shaving about a second off. It's made himself into 9th place overall with a 10.95 second pit stop. So nice work from him. He's clearly been saving a bit of fuel, or this was a miscalculation from him. It's now got Lewis Ward and Stephen Van Opstal right behind him. Actually, Beard now 11 seconds. Not quite sure how that massive gap has been able to form. But yeah, everyone apart from Mujdi and Gosling in the pits. And we know Mujdi's records when it comes to fuel. So I'm almost waiting for him to splutter to a halt on this lap. However, he's still okay, and he's only got a couple more corners to negotiate before he can get into pit road. And he is into pit road.
Also, Paul Gosling is in.
Mujdi was very early on the pit limiter there before going through the final corner, I think, through the pit lane. I probably lost a few seconds there. John Lavender as well in the pits, although that's a bit more permanent. Turning back to the pits, I think there.
Yeah, I think he had an off. Thanks for spotting that, Sam. There he is. Oh.
Marshall's made up a good amount of time on Palmer. He pitted one lap earlier. Isn't really an advantage pitting a lap earlier because, of course, Palmer would have still had fresh air in second place, and Marshall would have just basically had more fuel and the same age tyres. Does seem as though he's just flat out faster at the moment than Palmer. On that last lap wasn't representative because Palmer came out of the pits, but interesting to compare this time, see what the 18 can gain on the 44. few supporters, I believe, of Jack Ashton out here. It's Bod Boland dicing with Stephen DeWolf. This is a rivalry going back some time, and Boland gets ahead. Having a struggling round is Bod Boland a bit. John Tusting trying to get past as well. No way through past the BMW as Crows has had an issue.
Yes, but I cannot seem to find what happened to him.
Maybe being called to the weigh-in, and or maybe wanting to get it done nice and early. The weights of the car. Anyway, he's out of the car now. He hasn't disconnected from the session yet, but seems as though that will be as far as he goes. Dion Phillips, by the way, who was running in 5th place, apparently he's missed the pit entry. So he's gone the wrong way on the pit entry. Come on, mate. You've done masters around this place. We've been talking about this. You've done thousands of laps around this place. Of course, the thousands we've done in practice as well. Unfortunately, he's missed it, and now he's given up as Dion Phillips. Because there was going to be a 40-second stop and hold, apparently. So Dion Phillips from 5th place out of the race, and it promotes everyone else behind that up. Jeremy Hessel's up into 5th place himself now. Jack Ashton up into 6th. These two having an absolute stormer of a race. Opstyle seems to have been stuck behind other drivers for the majority of this event so far. Good to see him out here, of course, representing the McLaren very well. Nice grunt from the McLaren. And of course, quite a unique display as well.
Steering wheel issues for Danny Cruz, unfortunately.
Aha. Opstar has a nice run here into the hairpin, but he needs it extended by kind of 200 meters or so, and then he'd be right in the box seat potentially. It's in the box seat anyway. Has a good view of these two in front of him battling. Ashley Beard holding off Juice Mujdi at the moment. That is 12 seconds behind these guys. Like I said earlier on, crazy that such a gap has been able to form in this event. Mujdi backing up the statement of him perhaps being the favourite for the silver category for this season. Currently leading out of the silver drivers, apart from Jack Ashton, of course, running up in 6th place.
And Van Opstal, who's in 8th, as we go with the move. By the way, there's been an issue for Matthias Stem.
Ooh, dear.
He went wide. At the same time, Steven Van Opstal, we were talking about him. Here he is. Oh, let's see that dreaded McLaren snap. Let's see if we can jump on board with him and see once again.
It was dipping the wheel onto the grass again, I think. Steven will take...
I don't think he was. Let's see.
Yeah, I'm not sure actually. It seemed to be okay.
No, he did slightly, but...
Of course, thankful that he hasn't got the new generation of tires, otherwise that'd be even more slippery up there. DeWolf trying to get past once again, Boland, who is defending with all his might. The BMW should be really nifty around this place. Lots of tight corners where usually its strengths lie. Was very competitive as well at that. Ian Roots just swanning up to the back of this battle. 17th place at the moment for Roots on that last lap. Did he gain too much, or was he already on the back of them? He's pretty much matched them, so already was pretty close. 18 seconds stationary as well for Ian Roots in his pit stop. Pretty much the longest pit stop of anyone in this event so far. Clearly just took too much. And so that's, you wonder where he would have been if it weren't for that. Would probably be ahead of these guys, battling with Boland, and probably ahead of Boland and battling with James Horse Dyke anyway. Simon Van Dyke falling down the order. Also Kim Behait. And Kim
Maybe
Behait.
Oh, no, no, no!
And is that the leader? My goodness. Well, that was miraculous there from Mats van Liesenoord. We'll have to get an onboard replay of that one. Incredible stuff.
So let's see what happened here. So the Mercedes spins and oh wow, that's a massive hit. So that was what happened to Kim Behait. And then you will see Martin van Liesenoord. Deary me. Let's see the unbelievable roll there. And once again on board with our almost not anymore race leader Martin van Liesenoord. Let's see from his perspective.
Would have probably got the yellow flag by this point. But yeah, last seconds adjustment.
And this goes to show, Sam, you are never 100% safe in motorsport, no matter what you do.
This is really getting tasty now. Oh, Boland moving across really late there. May have been overstepping the mark, because came across quite suddenly. Roots, though, has gone all the way around the outside at hairpin and into Evolver. He has managed to get ahead of John Tusting. That was an excellent move there from Roots. I think he benefited from De Wolf and Boland concertinaing just in front of him. And Roots gets one done, and you wouldn't bet against him getting these two guys as well. He might even get De Wolf straight away. Contact!
Ooh, no.
And contact again, and well, from looking ahead, he might have to look behind because Tusting's almost come back. Boland has come into the pits. I don't know why he's done that one, because his first pit stop was absolutely fine.
Incident limit, splash of fuel.
Not the instant limit, he's on 21 at the moment. No one breaching the 25 instant limit at the moment. Steven Kastrup's on 19, and Boland on 21, like I was saying. A few others running pretty close. Danny Craze was on 19 before he retired.
Yeah,
Chris
but
Muretza, sorry.
Incident limit for today is 20.
You are so correct, Marco.
And I think bot forgot to uncheck everything, because even if you have only the windshield aero on, it will add 25 seconds to your pit stop.
Oh, wow.
So you need to clear everything in order to... Oh god, oh dear. I'm seeing a name drop. Oh no, it's not dropping, just using a little bit of track. I saw Ian Roots going off the track. That is never a good idea.
Ashley Beards into the pits. I think we no, did we expect that one? I'm not sure.
Oh no, he stopped for 9 seconds. Let's see.
That was quite short then. He hasn't breached the instant limit, he's on 16.
Just a splash then. So if you uncheck everything from your stop, you only get the 1 second. Otherwise, you get 25 plus, makes 26, and you are stationary there for quite a while, and I think that's sadly what happened to Bot Boland, who is back on the racing track, and this is something that the drivers will have to learn to adapt to this season. get that there is basically you can set up a hotkey on your iRacing with basically a quick macro that unchecks everything, and that is very useful in order then, you know, if you don't get if you get to that dreaded penalty point limit, incident point limit penalty, you can only stop for the 1 second and basically have a drive through as Ian Roots is around. Oh, into the wall.
Not a blown
Ouch.
engine, but he's towed back to the pits. Oh no. I mean, we can hardly say we're surprised, but
I mean, he was having such a great race.
he really was, and just running right onto the gravel, and he was unlucky that the wall was there. 246. Well, that is a rare mistake from Ian Roots. We really rarely see him not finish races. Usually, only when he's on honeymoon does he not finish races. It's very rarely due to a crash. And so that is the end of his day. Of course, already used his fast repair, you would assume, at the first pit stop, and he was looking pretty good for a top 15 finish. Chris Moretta going almost too quick for his own goods. Right there.
That was NASCAR style. I think he gave him a little bit of a bump. Almost, no. It just was so much faster. Probably a mistake from James Forsythe getting into that corner. So we have 2 minutes and a half left. Lap times are 1:27 more or less now for the leader. So we'll have this lap and one more. Leader of the... I didn't do the recap because usually I do it at the 50-minute mark. But, you know. As Jack Ashton is in, can you check his penalty situation, Sam?
8.
Okay, so only he had a very short stop, 10.95 seconds on lap 4. No, sorry, on lap I don't know. So yeah, maybe a splash and he's off. So leader of your overall and gold is Martin van Loosenhoord in front of Sequar Club's very own Ben Palmer, Ewan Marshall, PJ Claessens, Jeremy Essels round up your top 5. Leader of the silver class is Steven van Hopstal in front of Dries Mujdi, Jack Ashton looking to bring home the podium for his great fans, Steven De Wolf, and John Tasting rounding up the top 5 in that class. And let's see, well, we have the single class view, and here we go. In bronze, leader is Stuart Musselwhite in front of Craig Jones. Then we have Kevin De Winter, Thijsberg, and last but not least, Simon van Dijk, with all the rest of the class being out of the race.
No battles currently going on amongst the top 11 drivers, but then we've got De Wolf versus Tusting, and we've got Tem versus Forstdijk and Gosling as well. Gosling moving past Forstdijk at the moment. He's a tricky second stint after that spin. I think has been a bit off the pace ever since that mistake. By the way, Ian Roots did return back out onto the track and natural finish in 27th place. Won't be too bad a result for him. Here's Mats van Loosenhoord, however. Is this going to be the last lap? Of course it is going to be the last lap. And James Forsythe running out of fuel seemingly. He needs to make sure that he crosses the line so he doesn't go a lap down on the race leader. Card number 1, the 2-time defending champion. He's not going to score any points today, just the media day. However, he has certainly proven he is the man to beat. Martin van Loosenhoord rounds the final corner at Okayama. He wins the media day of Season 6 in the Dynamic Simracersworld GT Championship. Stephen Opstal, we believe, will be the top of the silver drivers. What an incredible performance this has been from him on its debut. Question whether or not he'll keep that silver rating, seeing how competitive he has been. Dries Mujdi arguably faster than him, however Mujdi starting way further behind. Opstal though, a very mature performance in the McLaren, and he rounds the final corner. The 275 car on his debut will win the silver category. The only other class winner we've got is this guy, Stuart Musselwhite. In fact, he's already won the bronze category because he's the only one still on the lead lap. And maybe has proven himself to be the guy to beat. Certainly very competitive bronze field this season. Difficult to call a winner. And Musselwhite, of course, will not score points for this round. That will go to Daytona, of course, in 1 week's time. But Stuart Musselwhite, car 318, rounds the final corner, and he wins the bronze category on the media day. A few more drivers still to cross the line. Lewis Ward with a late pit stop, I believe.
Yeah, this was the overtake. On the last lap, Van Hofstall passed Ward, who then made a beeline for the pits in the final corner. I have no idea why, because I mean, if you are in the final corner, unless he was really running on fumes, which
Oh, he
doesn't
breached
seem-
the instant limit.
Okay.
So he kind of had to. I
Yes,
don't know what he
otherwise
was
he-
expected to do in that situation.
Otherwise, he would have gotten a 1 lap penalty. Of course, hopefully, his pit stop was before the start finish line. Otherwise, he will get a 1 lap penalty. And that would be very bad, of course. But yeah, let's give some love to our race winner, Martin van Luzenoord, who is very diligently, as all the other drivers, entering the pits and celebrating a good victory on media day. And here we go with the race results for race no for the media day.
Yes. Race 0 of the season, if you will. Martin van Luzenoord wins out 15 seconds ahead of Ben Palmer. Credit to Ben Palmer, I mean, on his debut in this series. Very competitive second place. Ewan Marshall was putting pressure on him at the start of the second stint, however, it kind of faded away. Still a good podium for him. Seems like he's gone up a level in the off-season. PJ Clayton's was in 4th. Jeremy Hassel's great result for him in 5th. Stephen Opstal was top of the silver jazz in 6th. Juice Mucci also very competitive from 24th to 7th. Second place out of the silver drivers. There's Dan McCauley and Jack Ashton. Despite an extra pit stop as well, he would have probably won the silver category if it weren't for running out of fuel, we think. Finishes in 9th. Chris Muretta rounding out the top 10. Then it was Stephen DeWolf, John Tusting, Matthias Tem, Paul Gosling. Stuart Musselwhite was top of the bronze drivers, and the last driver on the lead lap was Neil Cooper. 1 lap down was Ashley Beard, Lewis Ward, James Forstyke, Craig Jones, John McConville, Kevin De Winter, Thijs Berg, John Barnes, Bod Boland, Hendrik de Grave, Ian Roots, Simon Van Dyke. 2 laps down was Kim by Het. 3 laps down was Adam Murray and Stephen Castro. And then the retirees were Danny Crows, Caleb Lavender, Dion Phillips, Jarno Dorr, Kevin Boland, Lee Deemer, Ollie Slade, Ryan Walker, Lee Woodburn, Tom Methrall, and Stein Van Buell. Jochen Lennartz didn't take the side. He didn't even do qualifying, did Jochen? Hopefully we'll see him back, though, for Daytona next week. So, I think we're going to have a chat, it seems like, with our only interviewee at the moment. It's Ian Roots, who we'll talk to now. Ian, what can we say? It was going so well. We'll start on the high, and then we will gradually descend the cliff. It was going quite well for you at one point. You were moving up through the order, started outside the top 30, found yourself up in 15th place. Now, I'm not sure if Ian is with us. He may have been sitting in the interview waiting area for the entire time that we weren't talking to him. So unfortunately, we've demoted him again. Hopefully, we'll have a chat with him at some point. But in fact, oh, thank goodness, our saving grace, Martin van Luzenoord, has come for a chat with us to save our blushes. Martin, no blushes for you, however, today. Against results. First off, how's the Ford?
I think the Ford likes me.
I mean, how is it setting up the Ford? Because I guess you got no help from your teammates when it comes to that car? I guess you've not got too much experience beforehand. How do you just go from scratch, or do you use some online setups? How do you deal with it?
No, we went from scratch. I did some practice on VIR a few weeks ago, so that gave me basically a good setup for bumpy tracks. Then we went for, I don't know, what was it, Kota, to build a more hard setup, and harder on the springs. Um, so yeah, we just did a few tracks just to prepare a little bit, and it feels like everything I touch on that car is doing, yeah, it's going positive. So, and I've got huge help from Kevin van der Slik. His daddy also had this car in real life back in the days. So yeah, I think he basically knows how to set up this stuff with the dampers and stuff. So it's really working out well.
Ah, nice. That's very cool.
Yeah.
And then in turn two was probably the most scary points of the race for
Holy
you.
shit.
You were no swearing, please. We're on the iRacing Esports Network.
My,
We'll get taken off for the season. No, but going
excuse
through
me.
turn two, and there was a car in the track.
Yeah, it suddenly was there, and I had to avoid. And luckily, my brains were working at that point, so I had to steer away from the car trying to rejoin. And yeah, luckily I could keep it out of the wall. I have to watch back what how close it was or whatever, but it was quite intense for me, and I was screaming it out as I cannot swear, so I won't say what I said. But yeah, was a yeah, was a tough moment.
Definitely. You reacted superbly, however. I mean, one of the questions I was going to ask you earlier on, if you come for an interview with us before the broadcast even started, as the defending champion, we were desperate to talk to you. I was just going to ask you, do you feel any pressure going into this season? And do you think choosing the Ford takes the pressure off slightly going into this season 6?
Well, yeah, that was the idea a little bit. I told to Ian, right, mate, this season is going to be a sort of, I don't know, fun season for me. I didn't want to put in that much time as I did before with the Ferrari, and also because we're not with that much teammates this year, this season. I said, right, let's just pick this car and have a fun season. But yeah, as the season's going forward, and this race ended quite well. I don't know. I think I should put in the time that I did before to, yeah, just keep up the pace with this car, and I think, yeah, I could win some other races if it's going like this.
Absolutely. Certainly put yourself as the favorite for Daytona coming up. Did you take part? You didn't take part in the endurance round, I believe, at Daytona. However, I'm sure you've done loads of laps around that place for, Daytona 24, and every other series it seems has
Oh,
visited that track in the last month. So, how are you feeling about that one?
I love Daytona, especially with a Ford. We did the Daytona 24 with a Ford 2017, the GTE. Um, Unfortunately, we only made it half a lap. So that was, yeah, that was a pity. But in the end, the car was really good on the tires. If we were watching the other cars in the second split, so basically it was a Ford 1-2, I think it was in that second split, just because of, I think it's just the tires of that car. So yeah, I think I like the Ford Daytona combo, and it definitely needs some work again on the setup for that track, because you want a lot of top speed, but that, yeah, results in oversteer with this car. So yeah, I just have to find a good balance between that.
Yeah, I'm sure you will. It will be fantastic to watch you back again, Martin, at the next week, of course, next Wednesday. Before we let you
Yes.
go, is there anyone you'd like to thank?
Yeah, I'd like to thank you guys for covering the series again. This in this new season. I'd like to thank my team, of course, RevMatch Esports. I'd like to thank my sponsors, UGX Racing Simulators, RB Skillworks, and Uitert. And yeah, see you guys next time.
Yes, best of luck for Daytona, Martin.
Thank you, sir. Bye-bye.
So that was Martin van Leesnor, two-time champion and race winner today. Marco, I think I'm going to leave you the honours today, potentially to have a chat with Ian Roots. I think he's had enough of me, and clearly I'm a bad curse. But I think if you're happy to, you can take this next one.
I mean, if he's here with us, because we called on him earlier and there was no answer, so let's try again. Hello, Ian.
Hiya guys, sorry, that was my computer's fault. Literally, I jumped in the waiting area and I had a blue screen of death on Windows. I've just restarted it. There's a driver update error or something, but yeah, I'm here now. What can I say? I threw away a really strong silver result by going onto the gravel and into the wall.
Yeah, you had a good run until then. If there is a silver lining to all of this, is that better to make this mistake today than next week, no?
Yeah, definitely. When be honest, when was the last time you saw me crash?
Yeah.
I didn't crash at all last season. I made a slight mistake in the pit stop and I forgot to untick the tyres. So as soon as the fuel went in, which is 28 litres, I suddenly realised the tyres were about to go on and I unticked them as fast as possible, but it still did the front right, which meant that the time I'd made up by pitting early and clear air, I lost. And I ended up back behind John again. And I was getting a bit frustrated because I knew I was quicker than those guys in front of me. And I just couldn't get by him. So I went by John, pushed too hard, tyres went off, and then that was it, game over, really.
I did that mistake 1 month ago, I think, in a race at Road America, and the car felt so horribly unbalanced. I think I only managed to change 2 out of the 4 tires before realizing the mistake. So, man, I feel
Yeah.
your pain. I feel your pain. But
Yeah, having one tyre changed is not good because you get grip in one corner and nothing in the next, and that's what happened. And yeah, I just overcooked it, went on the grass, and then hit the wall. But at that point, the racing that I saw ahead of me was actually very, very good. I don't know how it panned out for you guys in the booth, but it looked pretty hot at the front.
yeah, it was a great race. Of course, at the beginning there were a couple of moments, as it is expected, of course. But it was especially the midfield was super competitive. We had some drivers fall victim to the incident limit. Other drivers, I think, they had problems with fuel calculations. All in all, was a great media day. But to be honest, I cannot wait for Daytona, and that's saying something because I was talking to Sam earlier. We have done so many broadcasts from Daytona in the past couple of months. Um, Races in Daytona, of course. I raced the 24-hour race. I raced in the Daytona 500 on Sunday. But still, for one last hooray for this very long month and a half, I think the best way to close it out is to have you guys race there. So, I mean, what are your? You didn't race, of course, in the in the endurance series. You were doing stewarding. What are your thoughts for the Daytona round?
Yeah, it's as you've noticed, we've got some very fast McLarens in the series. I think it's going to be a track where the McLarens stretch their legs. If they can hold it together and get a setup that will handle in the infield, then I think the McLaren is the car to have there. We all know it's incredibly fast. To have McLarens and Ford on the grid this year is also a bonus. It's really mixing it up a little bit. And Martin winning in the Ford just goes to show you could give that man a Citroen 2 CV and he'd still win. But yeah, no, Daytona, it's a great track. It always provides great racing with the drafting and what have you in the fuel saving. Yeah, it's the start of the season. It's what we've been waiting for over 9 weeks. So yeah, fingers crossed it ends up being a good race.
Absolutely. Well, Ian, I think it has been a long day for you. A successful day off the track, a little bit less on the track, even though, again, you had a fantastic race. Getting ready for Daytona then. So, before we let you go, anyone you'd like to thank? Again, because we asked you the same question earlier, but in case you have some new names, this is the time.
Yeah, There is a new name actually. There's one guy that wasn't on the grid tonight and cannot be on the grid for the entire season, and that's Ruben Van Buell. He signed up for the series, decided to switch to the McLaren, and during the close season had a very serious cycle accident. Ended up in intensive care in Belgium. He's okay. He's on the mend. Just big shout out to Ruben. Get well soon, buddy. We're going to come over and see you in May. It's just a shame you can't be here, but I hope you enjoy the show and just keep watching the broadcast, mate. Keep your chin up, and we'll come and see you. Cheers, mate.
We wholeheartedly agree with you and send the same positive message to Ruben. Thank you very much, Ian, and we shall catch you in 1 week's time then.
Yes, definitely. Thanks, guys. Thanks for everything, and we'll catch you at Daytona.
Okay, have a good night.
Cheers, then. Bye.
And that was Ian Roots, and that, Sam, was our broadcast for tonight. I mean, I cannot wait for Daytona. I said it already, and I can't believe myself saying this after all the Daytona hate, but we had in the last few broadcasts we had. But like as I say, I mean, when you have this series, even going there for the 100th time this month is not a problem. So I mean, it's been a great media day. Time to go racing in other series before that. Of course, nothing tomorrow, if I'm not mistaken, because the winter series is over. Be back Friday with the IndyCar series. That will be from my favorite racetrack, so you don't want to miss that, Iowa. Then on Saturday, we are going to have the Formula 3.5 Championship, making its 10th round of the season. And then on Sunday, Aussie Mixed and Fixed will be back. And I think, Sam, that is all for the upcoming races.
I think so, and of course World GT as well next Monday. Will be very good. Hopefully, round one I have heard was very good, so I'm sure round two will be as well. And of course, round one in the Sim Racers World, the Dynamic Sim Racers World, GT Championship, will be with you next Wednesday as well on the iRacing Esports Network, which you should subscribe to because there is loads of content on the Esports Network, including the Aussie Mixed and Fixed series. Of course, that'll be Sunday midday for us Europeans, evening for Australians, and will be very good. So subscribe to the Esports Network, and also, if you wouldn't mind, please do check out Apex Racing TV, where we cover many similar races to this. And of course, do check out the Sim Racers World websites if you want to sign up to their TCR series or their endurance series as well, running the Porsche Cup car, the GT3s, the GT4s, and the TCR car, of course. And of course, you might even be able to sign up to the GT series as well. So if you've enjoyed what you've seen today, do check out simracersworld.com, a superb community. We thoroughly recommend it. But from me and from Marco, we'll say goodbye, and we'll see you next time.